In 1583, a young Jurchen chieftain named Nurhaci buried his father and grandfather. They had been killed by a rival clan, possibly with the cooperation of the Ming Chinese authorities. Nurhaci was left with 13 suits of armor, a handful of soldiers, and a claim to leadership over a small clan in what is now northeastern China. He swore revenge. Over the next 40 years, he unified all the Jurchen tribes, built an entirely new kind of army, created a writing system for a language that had none, founded a new dynasty, and launched the military campaigns that would, within 20 years of his death, place his descendants on the throne of China. His heirs, the Qing dynasty, would rule China for the next 268 years. It is one of the most improbable careers in Asian history. And it started with 13 suits of armor and a vendetta. Stay with me, because this story ends in the Forbidden City. To understand Nurhaci, you need to understand the world he was born into. The Jurchens were a collection of clans living in the forests and mountains of Manchuria, the region northeast of China proper, now the provinces of Liaoning, Jilin, and Heilongjiang. They were not a unified people. They were divided into dozens of competing clans, constantly raiding each other, trading furs and horses with the Chinese, and existing in a complex relationship with the Ming dynasty that had ruled China since 1368. The Ming treated the Jurchen clans as subordinates, granting titles to chieftains, using them as buffers against other steppe peoples, playing them against each other. It was a system designed to prevent any single leader from consolidating enough power to become a threat. Nurhaci was born around 1559 into the Isin-Gyoro clan. He grew up in this world of clan politics and Chinese management. His father and grandfather were both clan chieftains who had navigated the Ming system. In 1583, a neighboring clan attacked with, according to Nurhaci, Chinese support. His father and grandfather were killed. The Ming offered condolences, titles, and 30 horses as compensation. Nurhaci accepted the titles. He did not forget the insult. The story of the 13 suits of armor became legend in Qing dynasty memory. What's clear is that Nurhaci started with almost nothing. The larger Jurchen clans had no reason to follow him. The Ming had no reason to take him seriously. What Nurhaci had was organizational genius. He began by absorbing neighboring small clans. Through alliance, intermarriage, and, when necessary, force. He was pragmatic about which method to use. He was also unusually good at keeping absorbed clans loyal rather than resentful. He used the Ming system itself. He maintained formal tributary relations with Beijing while building his own power underneath that relationship. He collected the titles, appeared cooperative, and used the stability that cooperation provided to consolidate his position. By the 1590s, he controlled enough territory and warriors to begin the next stage. He started a war with the rival Yehe clan, the clan that had been involved in his father's death. The war lasted decades, but while it was happening, he was building something the Jurchens had never had before. In 1601, Nurhaci created the 8-banner system, one of the most significant military innovations in East Asian history. Before the banners, Jurchen warriors fought as clan units, loyal first to their clan leaders. This made large-scale coordinated military action difficult. Nurhaci reorganized his forces by dividing them into 8 units, banners, each identified by a specific color: yellow, white, red, blue, and bordered versions of each. Each banner included warriors from multiple clans, mixed together. The effect was profound. Men whose primary loyalty had been to their clan now had a new primary loyalty: to their banner, and through it, to Nurhaci. The banners were not just military units. They were social units. Each banner had its own residential areas, its own administrative structure. Families lived within banner communities. Children grew up as banner members. It was a tool of social engineering as much as military organization. The system worked. By the time Nurhaci began his open wars against the Ming, his forces had a cohesion and discipline that the clans of 10 years earlier had entirely lacked. In 1599, Nurhaci ordered the creation of a written script for the Jurchen language. This sounds like a cultural project. It was actually a political one. Without a written script, everything had to be done orally or in Chinese. Chinese was the language of Ming administration. Using it meant relying on Ming cultural infrastructure, Ming-educated intermediaries. Nurhaci wanted his own government, his own records, his own administrative language. He assigned 2 scholars to adapt the Mongolian script, which had influenced earlier Jurchen writing, to the sounds of the Jurchen language. The result was the Manchu script, written vertically, still used today as a ceremonial script in China. Then, in 1616, he made the break explicit. He proclaimed the founding of the later Qing dynasty, a name deliberately chosen to echo the Qing dynasty that had ruled northern China before the Mongols. He gave himself the title Khan. He was announcing to the world, and to the Ming, that he was not a subordinate chieftain anymore. He was a ruler of an independent state. In 1619, the Ming dynasty finally decided to deal with Nurhaci. They assembled a massive force, by different estimates, between 80,000 and 200,000 men, drawn from Ming army units, Korean allies, and Jurchen clans that were still loyal to Beijing. They planned to divide this force into 4 columns and converge on Nurhaci's territory from multiple directions simultaneously. It was a sound strategy, in theory. In practice, it fell apart. Nurhaci used interior lines, moving his forces rapidly between the divided columns, concentrating against each one before it could link up with the others. In the Battle of Sarhu, he destroyed the main Ming force in a single day. The other columns, hearing what happened, largely retreated. The military balance in Manchuria had been reversed. The Ming would never again mount a serious offensive challenge to the Jurchen state. Nurhaci spent the rest of his life pushing south, taking Ming territory, building his state. He died in 1626 at the siege of Ningyuan, reportedly wounded by one of the new Portuguese cannon the Ming had acquired. He was 67 years old. He had not yet taken China. Nurhaci's son, Hong Taiji, continued the work. He renamed the Jurchens the Manchu, a new name for a new people, and renamed the dynasty the Qing. In 1644, a Ming general opened the gates of Beijing to Qing forces. Not to the Manchu, but to allow them to help suppress a Chinese rebel who had taken the city. Once inside, the Qing stayed. The last Ming emperor hung himself on a hill outside the Forbidden City. The Qing completed the conquest of the rest of China over the following decades. the dynasty that Nurhaci had founded, from 13 suits of armor in Manchuria, now sat on the dragon throne. The Qing ruled China until 1912. They expanded the empire to its greatest territorial extent in history, incorporating Tibet, Xinjiang, and Mongolia. The territory of modern China is largely the territory the Qing conquered. Nurhaci never reached Beijing, but everything that came after started with him. Nurhaci occupies an interesting place in modern Chinese history. The People's Republic of China is officially a multi-ethnic state, and the Qing dynasty, as a Chinese dynasty, is part of Chinese history. Nurhaci, as the founder of the Qing, is technically a Chinese historical figure. This has made his status complicated. He is celebrated in some contexts as the founder of a great dynasty. He is viewed with more ambivalence in others, as the leader of a conquest that subjugated the Han Chinese majority for nearly 3 centuries. The Qing required Han Chinese men to shave their foreheads and wear the Q hairstyle, the long braid associated with the Manchu, on pain of death. This forced adoption of Manchu customs was deeply resented and is still remembered. After the fall of the Qing in 1912, the Manchu people largely assimilated into the Han Chinese majority. The Manchu language, which Nurhaci had created a script for, is now nearly extinct, spoken by fewer than 100 people fluently. The empire he founded exists only in the borders he helped create and the history books that still argue about what he was. A conqueror who started with 13 suits of armor and ended up changing the shape of China. This is the Dragon Throne. We cover the conquerors, clan chiefs, and empire builders of Asia. The ones who started with nothing and changed everything. Subscribe if this story surprised you. New episodes every week.